Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Jay. What's up,
Just
Jay?
me. It's just me
Jay.
this time.
Yeah.
I was just asking Kyle right before we counted in. I was like, when's the last time it's just been me and you? It feels weird. Like, I mean, Kyle and I are friends and we've known each other for a long time now, 5 years. But like, it's kind of weird. Like when you're like left in the room with like the ancillary friend that you don't, and you're just like sitting there going, huh. So we've never just hung out before. That's
Ancillary friend.
yeah.
I would not describe us as ancillary friends.
No. I'm just describing the feeling. Like when I was just like, oh, there's only two of us. Yeah, all right. No, it's good.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Kicked out all these other youngsters and
That's right. We're
dude.
Gotta up the average age here.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Like a buddy of ours that plays locally came up and like he said his birthday was like last week. I was like, oh, happy birthday. How old are you? Oh, yeah, I just turned 31. I was like, dude, what? Like, I thought you were like 38. I was just like, holy God.
I have learned that at least in the circles that play miniatures games, the whole guess my age game is actually like sometimes kind of difficult. There are definitely people that look significantly younger than they are, and there are definitely people that look significantly older than they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like for sure. Like right now, because I got my hair cut.
Yep.
I don't have all my grays aren't so like right. I could pass for maybe like early 30s. I think maybe, if you hadn't seen me, maybe mid 30s. Nope, 40. Just hurts my soul.
Yeah, I need to get the gray sides cut. Although it's also in the top, so it's not like it really.
I just got this really cool like rogue thing going on in my hair, where it's just like I got like a little zoop through the top, which is nice,
Yeah,
but
I had a neighborhood
got all my
kid.
hair.
I had a neighborhood kid ask me if I fought in World War II. Did I tell you that?
Yeah, you told me that before. Yeah.
I'm like, no. How old do I look? I determined that kids just have no sense of time whatsoever. No. Yeah,
you just look. I mean, do you remember that as a kid? Like, you would just like. I remember my parents when they were the age I am now, and I'm just like, well, they're dead. Like that was just in my head. You know what I mean? Like, well,
anything older than you is just effectively ancient.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's over for them any minute now.
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I was a camp counselor over the summer, and the kids at this camp were like 9, 10, and I was like 15, 16, 17. And we'd always ask them like, well, how old do you think I am? And they'd be like 35. Yeah. It's like, I'm like 5 years older than you, It's just this weird, it's like this weird time warp in the brains of kids where they just have zero concept of age beyond, like 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade.
Like
if you're an adult,
you're dead.
If you're an adult, or if you're like older than if you're enough older to not even be like in the same school age bracket, you're just ancient.
I mean, that carries with you. Like someone like a doctor. A doctor I had when I was a kid just recently passed, and I was like, what was she like 150? How is that even real? And my mom was like she was like mid-20s or 30, like when she was your doctor when you were a kid. I was just like, oh no, okay, that's much more reasonable. Like, but in my head I was just like, it just carried through. Like I was just like, dude, she was like 90 when she was my doctor. How is this even a thing? Like, no, she was like 40. It's just like, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, it's like having a kid, or as a kid having a babysitter that's like really just 5 or 6 years older than you, but you perceive them as this ancient person. And then you become an adult and you're like 25 and they're like 30 and you're like, oh okay.
Yeah. Well, I think like you're right, like that, like tabletop gaming, Star Wars games in particular seem to be this great equalizer that like, I mean, there's definitely some people you're like, oh yeah, you're like 15, and then there's some people you're like, yeah, you're definitely like 60. But there's this real weird ground between like 20 and like 50 where half the people I could like. I mean, I was playing with Luke Cook before he was 21, and I didn't even know that. I was like, "Come on, man, let's go have a beer." He's like, "Yeah, I can't. I'm not 21."
Yeah, I can't do
I
that.
was like, "Oh my god, jeez, I just got us all in trouble." I was like, that it didn't even like connect, you know?
Yeah, and he feels like he's been around. I mean, he has been around forever, but that also means he's like 25. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's funny.
Yeah. Anyways,
Um, all right. Well, I guess we should talk about something more topical than how old we are
no,
today.
that seems topical for me.
I had a stereotypical dad weekend. It was my kid's birthday. So
Nice.
we, all the neighbors basically just hang out in the yard. Kids swam in a blow up pool and we drank beers and ate pizza. It was great.
See, I had a stereotypical dad weekend, but in a different way, where I was like doing remodels to the house and just yelling at my idiot teenagers, like,
Yep.
what are you stupid? Why would you do it like that? Just like, no, you gotta hold it up. No, hold it up. Like, it's sheetrock. How do you think I'm gonna hold it up? Like, like I have to screw it in. Yeah, that sort of stuff. I just like I had to stop because my son's like holding it up and I'm just like yelling at him. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I go, hold on. He goes, what's that? What? He goes, I'm like, I just had a crazy flashback to my dad yelling at me. I'm like, I just need like 2 seconds. I'm like, I'm sorry. I love you. I'm sorry. Like, just like, good God.
Yeah, I have this memory of I was helping my dad nail something in, and I remember I grabbed the nail and I held the nail and I put my thumb over the back of the nail and I went to go hit it, and like my dad grabbed my wrist. He's like, "What are you doing?" And then I look at the nail and I'm like, "Oh,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep. And then it's like, because what we're doing, I'm hanging sheetrock and I'm putting the top one up, and I just go to my son, I go, hey, hold it even. Why aren't you holding it even? He goes, I don't know what even means. What even to what? And I'm like, it's like, oh yeah.
that'll learn sometime, I
And
guess."
I remember that same, my dad was in construction, so I learned a lot of that from him. So it's just that same like, oh, and I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I love you. Like here's what I mean. Like,
Yep.
yeah. Anyways,
All right. So today we're going to talk about Ewoks because we finally got some.
Ewoks.
Not that I mean, we've been getting a nice little drip, drip,
Yeah.
drip of Ewok related things, but we finally actually got like the 2 unit cards of the things that come in the main Ewok box.
Yep.
So that's the skirmishers and the slingers. So we'll talk about those. We got a huge jump of upgrade cards, which appear to be a fairly comprehensive spread of what you can give these little furry murder bears. So
Yep.
we'll talk about those. We're gonna kind of be moving to a new format for the show, so we're gonna talk about that.
Oh, this show?
The show.
Nice.
Um,
New format.
yeah, which we've done a couple times over the course of our 5-year
Coming up
coverage of this game.
Couple months, it'll be 5 years.
Yeah, but before that, do you have any housekeeping for us, Jay?
Yeah, I do. I would just like to encourage you out there to play our Stormtide narrative. So basically, if you don't know, I know we've talked about it a bunch on this podcast, but basically Stormtide is it used to be just kind of this like narrative campaign that we were doing, but now it's I've really tuned up the like RPG elements. So you're really like you get to grow a character. They start in the personnel slot, and then you have to get like experience points, and then they can go to be a heavy, to be a operative, or in a commander. Or what you could do is you could create a bunch of characters and do like a Bad Batch squad. So that's actually something we're going to be releasing not what's next month, June. God, it's still May. So
it is very slightly
just
still
barely,
May,
yeah.
which could be relevant to a news item that we should get to after housekeeping.
Yeah. So in June, I'm going to be releasing a card that lets you play characters in like a Bad Batch style group. So you can have multiple characters going. You can have one, like whatever you want, and you kind of like build it up. And it's just a different way of playing Legion, but with through an RPG system. And so, like for instance, the first, you can see if you go to our YouTube, I've done unboxings of our first 2 boxes, and you basically, in the first 2 boxes, you're in this new star system, and you're like getting involved right in the local politics. And so the first box, you're basically, the 2 players are hired by the 2 races, and your mercenaries just trying to like figure this out for them. And then in this next box, you kind of see the ramifications of that, and then you're trying to play politics inside the system. So we're doing a bunch of RPG stuff in there. Also, like there's going to be, for instance, in this star system, there's an outpost that you can go to, and there's stores in the outpost, and you can buy stuff from the stores that relate to the game. So one of the big things we've included for your characters is cybernetics and enhancements. And so that was kind of came from like Boba Fett, I guess, the book of Boba Fett, where I was like it just kind of clicked with me that that was one of the things I liked about it, because you see Luke's hand or Anakin's hand, and you like people having robotic parts, and I never really like thought about it really, right? You're just like, oh, that's just like this health thing that they do. You lose a hand, you get a new hand, it's robotic, right? But then Book of Boba Fett kind of opened up in my mind anyways, this like cyberpunk, like upgrading and enhancements and like things that people could potentially be doing, right, to make themselves better. Kind of, if you guys know about the cyberpunk world, it's very similar. And so one of the things in Stormtide that I've introduced is cybernetics and enhancements. So to build your character, like, so for instance, we just released this month enhancements that let you get like surge to crit on your character, or surge to block, and like different stuff like that, or let you, like, there's an injection you could take that lets you get independent aim, stuff like that, like trying to explain why the characters have these different things outside their class and their species, right? And so yeah, I'm really excited about it. And the neat thing is, you don't have to go backwards, because if you buy in today, all the missions are available to you digitally, so you could catch right up. The only thing you don't get is like all the special stuff, like the mini or like cards or anything we put in those first 2 boxes. But you get the mission, so you're all caught up with the story, and you can get going right away. So yeah, so check it out. Go to stormtide.thefifthtrooper.com. There's also in the Legion Discord, there's a whole Stormtide channel, subcategory and channels. You can ask as many questions as you want in there, see what people think, and you can watch the 2 unboxings that I have on YouTube. But I'm really excited about this. I really want to get as many people into this as possible, because I think it'll help. We've been hearing a lot of people kind of slowing down on Legion and tournaments and stuff, and I think this might just be a better way, or a different way, for you to play Legion and get into the game that we all love. I know it helps me stay active.
Yeah, it's always good to have different ways to play the game.
Yeah.
We're all anxiously awaiting this supposed impending balance update, which they said would be at the end of May. I think they said they were hoping for the end of May, leaving open the possibility that it would not be May. And as we record, it's May 29th. So
right.
It'll get here when we get here. I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, 7 points, like it'll get here this week, it'll get here next week, it'll get here sometime in the next month. Who knows? It'll get here when it gets here. But I definitely understand the people that are like, I just don't really want to go, play in a tournament right now until we get something. So,
yeah, it's tough.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah. I mean,
I
don't get it. You know what? No, I don't get it. I'm not going to agree with you.
All right, that's fair.
I disagree. What? Because what does it matter?
No,
if you played this weekend.
If there was a local store tournament this weekend, and I had availability, which is obviously
Right,
a
yeah,
key
right.
factor, I would 100% go, and I would
Right.
play.
Yeah.
And if there was something at stake, I would play Dark Troopers,
Right.
and not feel bad about it.
I think we're starting to see too throughout the world, right? Because there was like a Polish tournament recently, and I don't think Dark Troopers or Blizzard were even in the top X. I forgot what it was. Somebody told me it was like the top 5 or something. Maybe there's one Dark Trooper, but
I feel like they've been like voted off the island a little bit.
Yeah.
People are sick of them. They've got this stigma now where it's like everybody hopes. I don't want to say knows because who knows what they'll actually do, but everybody expects them to be nerfed. They're widely perceived as being too good. So there's like this stigma. I mean, Bay Area Open, which just happened in San Francisco this past weekend, I think there were like 3 Dark Trooper lists.
Yeah.
So it's not that, I mean, people just aren't bringing them.
Right.
And I think people want to try the new stuff. There were a ton of Cody lists. Michael Snyder won with a Cody list.
Nice.
So it's not that they like if people have figured out how to counter them or they're suddenly like not winning stuff. They're just, people aren't bringing them. And I think Rocky Top was the same weekend, right? Didn't Austin win with Blizzard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're still good.
Yeah, no, and it's not that they're not good. It's you're right. I think it's self-regulation by the community, right? And
exactly.
I think that's
saw this with
always
Tauntauns
done.
too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, that's something we've always done, and just people are like, yeah, I could win with all this, but like we already know that. Let's see if I can win with something else.
Yeah, and I think it's more. I want to optimistically say it's more personal regulation. Like I don't have anything to prove if I play this thing again. I'm going to try something different rather than like
community decision.
Right. I don't ever want to like say that people should be like shamed for bringing a certain list. Like if it's legal, then it's good, and somebody brings it.
You out of all people would do it.
Yeah, the poster boy Blizzard player, right?
Yeah,
here.
That's right. Well, I mean, it's good, right? So I'm gonna bring it.
Well, and somebody messaged me actually over the weekend, and they're like, we've got this guy that like brought Dark Troopers to a local, and there were people like basically like conceding without playing him and complaining about it, and I was like, look, man, like,
all right, well, that's too far.
And it's like, look, it's like it's a legal list, like it is a unit that is allowed. Is it too good? Yes. Is it a bad experience to play against? Yes.
Okay. So
is it the player's fault for bringing it? Absolutely not. Like it's part of the game.
So
like,
I have
if you're upset about it, don't take it out on that person.
I have 2 sides to that, right? Number one, me personally, if we were playing a local, I wouldn't do that unless there was like a world invite on the line. If it was just like a local tournament, no, I wouldn't do that because I want everybody to have a good time, and I just know that would not be a good time. The other side of it, those of you that conceded without even playing that person, dude, muscle up. Let's go. Try to beat them. Like, what are you doing? Like, yeah, they're good, but they're not unbeatable.
Right, and who knows? Maybe
it wasn't a good player.
Yeah, who knows? You don't know unless you try.
But also everything else he has. Like, I mean, find another way around it. Let's go.
And just the concept of like disliking someone or shaming someone because they bring a certain thing. Like, look, I wouldn't personally bring something like that to a local, but I also would not blame someone for doing it.
Yeah,
it's like it's allowed. It's good. Yeah, if you have a problem with it, don't take it up with that player. Take it up with AMG.
Question is. No, they probably didn't have a Worlds. No one would have conceded if there was a Worlds on the line.
Yeah, I asked. There was no Worlds invite on the line.
All right. Well, it's a tough, right? Because you get it. You get why people would be upset, but at the same time, I mean, it's legal. Like, guys just.
I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration. Redirect that frustration away from the player playing the list. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
Yeah, it's always a hot topic in miniatures gaming. But for me personally, I'm always about like, let's target the energy at the actual problem.
Yeah.
The actual fixable problem, and not at something that is a waste of time.
Well, and my thing has always been like, specifically, if I go to a tournament with something new that I'm like, well, I don't know, we're gonna find out. I'm almost always looking forward to playing meta lists because it's kind of like, well, let's see what happens. Like,
Yep.
is this idea that I have in my head any good? Because this is the true test of that, right? And so, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird. I get it from all angles, right? I'm just like every angle. I'm like, yeah. I mean, except for the guys who quit. I don't get it from there.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about creating a gauntlet on this cast before, but basically, like whenever I'm testing a new list, I want to play the things that people understand to be good.
Yeah,
and I want to play them as much as possible.
Yep.
So, yeah, when we do local practice for tournaments, I just had a recent one where the guys that were coming were nice enough to be like, "Hey, man, what do you want me to play? Like, what do you want to face?" And be like, "I want to face Blizzard Force. I want to face Dark Troopers." So,
yeah.
All right. That was a lot of bit off topic.
So points update, maybe. See, I would not venture to call it a balance update because I don't think it's going to balance as much as everyone wants it to. I think it's a points update.
Well, nothing will ever meet everyone's expectations.
It's
right?
A points update. It's gonna hopefully fix some stuff that's broken. That's all we can hope for. It's probably gonna, what's the word? Unbalance, debalance. It's gonna unbalance some things elsewhere.
We'll see.
Because
I
think it's hard not to. Even
here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Last time there was a lot of collateral damage as a result of the nerfs to pikes and a couple other things. There was a lot of like big sweeping changes that they made that hit the obvious things that needed to be nerfed, but also had some like side effect hits on some foreseeable side effect hits on other stuff that they didn't like bring back up.
Rebels,
right?
Rebel dodge stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of, there were no rebels, literally none at Bay Area Open. Not a single one.
That is not a surprise to me.
It is to me simply because
Ahsoka, was she legal? She was legal.
No, but even there's two things this tells me.
Okay.
The first is obvious, which is that rebels are bad. The second is that most tournament players play at least two armies because like that's a big convention tournament. And for there to be like literally no rebel players, you look at times in the history of this game when one faction has been perceived to be bad or bad. In tournaments of like 30 plus players like this one, you still get like some people that show up and play that faction. It might be a handful, it might be underrepresented, but it's not zero. Like it's never zero for a major faction. This is the first time that I can recall when there was literally no representation at all for one of the four major factions at a major convention tournament. Like I cannot think of another tournament where that happened. So that's kind of remarkable. But it does tell me that most tournament players play two armies because if you had like a solo rebel player showing up to the area open, they would have played rebels, even though they're thought to be bad right now. So I don't know.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Anyway, that was a little bit off topic.
It's all right.
Oh, we were talking about the balance update. The most obvious things that need to be hit going into this balance update are Dark Troopers and Blizzard Force. And I think that there are ways to nerf those in more targeted fashion than like, there's not a lot of like neutral upgrades that Blizzard Force or Dark Troopers rely. I mean, I can't think of any actually that they rely on to like do their thing. So like if you're going to nerf Blizzard Force or Dark Troopers, you nerf Blizzard Force and Dark Troopers. It's like in the last one, the rebels got hit by the vigilance and the situational awareness hit and some of the other stuff. Whereas like this one, if you increase the cost of HRUs or increase the cost of Dark Troopers or whatever, like that might have knock-on effects in like maybe those lists were holding something else back, but it's not going to like make something obviously and immediately worse in the same way that So yeah, I think there's, the last points update certainly had a lot of that, like, okay, there's a lot of foreseeable stuff that happened as a result of these points that they could have like also adjusted the points on to offset, and they didn't. That could happen this time. We'll see. I'm holding out hope that they learn from that experience and we'll get a much more even, distribution.
Yeah, and I really hope like they take a hard look at like like making some other things playable. Like I think this is repeated that we've talked about like Z6s. I'd love to see.
I love the Rebel Troopers in general. Yeah.
I'd love to see some reductions there to bring them back, or maybe add a keyword or something. Anything that would like help them to bring them back up. I think that would be really nice. I think there's some things that could be worked on to also bring some older like Commander Luke could use some help, bring him up.
Rebel Mandos.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's Veers could use some help, maybe make him a little bit more outside of Blizzard Force, make him a little bit more relevant. Just little things,
Yeah, it'll be nice to see if they do that sort of thing this time or not. Last time, the only cut that they made that was not like surrounding the clone trooper cuts was Death Troopers. The Death Trooper DLT. That was literally like the only thing they cut. So hopefully we get some more sort of across the board, like these units are bad. Let's give them cuts, in a way that's like a little more even-handed and not just addressing some kind of broad obvious theme. So, all right. But
cool.
Yeah, we've already done points wish listing on previous episodes,
Yes,
so we still have to get to new format and Ewoks.
Oh, good. Okay. New format. Let's go.
All right, new format.
Yeah. You want me to?
Yeah. So, yeah, basically we're going to. So a lot of it is going to be. We have had structure like this previously on the show, and we've vacillated between various formats over. I mean, 5 years is a long time to do one show, right?
Yep.
So we're gonna try and freshen things up a little bit, and we're gonna continue the host rotations. But we're gonna also do a little bit more broad theme topical rotations. So it's basically going to be like 4 block rotations. We're going to have a like a Legion 101 week where we talk about some kind of, basic Legion skill and kind of deep dive on that. We're going to have a competitive week where we talk about some kind of advanced Legion skill. We talk about unit balance. We do tournament recaps, stuff like that. Competitive update week. We're going to do a hobby week where we talk some kind of deep dive on a hobby topic, because I know, Jay, that's something you are very interested in, and me also. I love, I've been doing miniatures games since second edition 40K when I was 12 years old. So which was based on the color of my hair a long time ago. So
well, and I feel like it's we touch on it. Like I feel like it's every 50 episodes. We then have like one hobby where you and I are like, let's talk hobby, and then we don't even. It's like maybe half the episode we talk about it, and so I think that's a lot to this game that we don't always cover as much 100%. As we should. Yeah, and
it's a big passion of ours too that just kind of gets left on the sidelines from a coverage perspective. I've single-handedly painted really 5, if you count Shadow Collective, different factions over the years, and I've just never really talked about it. I have a fieldable army for all 5, 4.5, however you want to look at factions.
Same.
And and we just never talk about painting. So we're gonna do that. What is that, 3? And then the 4th one is gonna just be like a sort of recap the news from the month, pontificate about random topics, variety show type thing. So
and we're on the other end, I'm really going to try to punch up kind of what we do on our YouTube channel, and bring that up a little bit with graphics and stuff like that. We'll probably do a new intro to the show, like so the next time you come and listen, it's going to be different, but still positive, in Legion, and we're going to rotate, and I'm excited about it. It's something, and we'll be going into season 3 of Scoundrels, which we've been on season 2 for a long time, and so we're going to rotate it out and just try to like talk about a broader range of things when it comes to Legion.
Yep.
And be more, I guess we do that anyways, but this is being very more intentional about it and saying, okay,
more organized, structured.
Yeah. This episode is this. And I think we ideally, once we figure out the rotation, I'd like to be able to be like, and join us next week for our, 101, like to just be able to know that we're like, what our topic area is, at least for the next week, so that'll be good.
Yeah, and obviously, like, there's still going to be probably some degree of contemporary news discussion on each episode. Like if something crazy happens, the week before an episode, and it's not like specifically related to the topic we had lined up, we're probably still going to talk about it. We're not going to wait like a month to talk about whatever that thing is. So don't worry about that. But
it'll just depend on the depth and of how deep we get, how deep we actually get into that particular topic on that episode.
Right.
But I think it's going to be good. I'm excited. I hope you guys at home are excited. It'll just kind of, I'm hoping it'll freshen this up. We've kind of been doing this version for a while, and so I know I'm getting bored, so let's freshen it up and see.
I'm not, but I always appreciate the value of structure. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Me offering structure to Kyle jumps right out. Like, like, hey, you want structure? All right. Yeah.
Yep. I'm an accountant by trade, so structure is my existence.
Yeah. It is not mine. But I do understand the value of it in certain cases, in particular this one, right? So I'm looking forward to it, and it's something new for us to try and do, and we'll see what happens.
Yep. And give us feedback. We always appreciate feedback. So if there's something you want to see, or
I don't always appreciate it.
Okay, well that's fair. Yeah.
It's fine if you guys want to give it. We'll see if I listen.
I would always like to know what I could be doing better and what we could be doing better. So doesn't mean that's a guarantee that will be implemented, but
that is true.
Yeah. It's good to at least. Yeah. All right. Okay. Should we talk about Ewoks?
Yeah, let's do it. So we got some more stuff. I'm pretty excited. I'm also like not as excited as I probably will be once I actually get them. It's just like I was telling somebody else this the other day, like, yeah, it's fine that they give us the cards, but like it really doesn't. I don't work like that on Legion. Like I don't play in my head. I don't like look at this card and go, oh, that would be good doing this. Like that's not how I play. I'm more of a let's get on the table and see what happens type of a guy. And so as excited as I am, I'm just kind of like, waiting for it to actually be physically in my hands and get a game with this, so, and I do have an indoor table that I will absolutely be bringing out for my first Ewok match. I think this might be the first full like army or battle force, whatever it ends up being, that I'm gonna have fully painted before I actually put it on the table, because that's like what I'm the most excited about. So
yeah, and frankly, Ewoks look like a good candidate for like fast painting techniques, whether it's contrast paints, whether it's like slap with one color, throw a wash and a dry brush on there, whether it's airbrushing. Fur tends to lend itself to that kind of stuff, so which is good, because there's a lot of we can talk about how cheap they are. There's going to be a lot of Ewoks on the table if you field a Bright Tree Village battle
I'm going to
force.
tell you right now, I'm going the other way, Kyle.
Oh yeah,
I'm going to give these the personal touch that each one of my cuddly little bears deserves.
You're going to do like blending and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, that's fair. I want to see
Very
like
excited.
some non-metallic metal chewy ATST action
Oh yeah.
or C3PO going on.
That's and this is why, for those of you about the new format thinking about that still, this is one of those things why we want to do the hobby is I've gotten reinvigorated into the hobby through Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I've just been painting a lot, and everything I've been doing in that, like, I've been doing non-metallic painting. I literally use I love Monument Hobbies paint line, and so I've been just using their like basic color line and just like mixing the paints myself, like doing all the colors. Like it's been quite enjoyable, and so yeah, I just want to keep that going with my little Ewok buddies. So
That's fair. If I get Ewoks, I'm gonna airbrush the crap out of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's going to take me forever. Don't get me wrong. This is not going to be easy or quick. But it's something that I'm passionate about, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yep, that's fair. Entirely defensible.
Yep.
All right, how about we talk about the units?
All right. So first one we got is the Skirmishers. They are a core unit. They start with 6 little friendly fellas for 40 points. They have a heavy upgrade.
Hang on.
Yeah. Friendly fellas. Yeah.
These we're talking about the same cute looking, but nonetheless the same creatures that were going to eat Han and Luke.
Yes. What I'm trying to do right now is disarm everyone, so
I see.
that when they actually face me, they don't think that they're meat-eating terror bears, right?
Okay. Yep.
These friendly fellas
okay. Yep.
have a heavy
cuddly Care Bears.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can hug every one of them.
Yep.
And then die. Heavy upgrade, personnel upgrade in a training slot. They have only 1 weapon on their card, which is a spear in melee. 1 health, 1 courage, and they roll white die on defense. Yeah. Unhindered and low profile. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah, very important.
The 2 most important things of that entire card.
Yeah. I mean, basically, they're like melee B1s. It's probably with low profile.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're good. I mean, I think it's going to be hard. Okay, stick with me here.
All right, I'm listening.
I think I've played Separatist, I was miserable the whole time, but I played that B1 list. But I think when you think of droids, the movies, like everything, the shows, like everything's got us in that mentality of they just don't matter, right? It's just rush them towards the line, and just I think people are going to struggle with this with these guys. That it's the same core concept as just like overwhelming numbers, and you just don't care. Like you're just like, yep, throw some more at them. And I think people are going to struggle with that. If I had to guess, it's going to be a little bit different because they're cute and cuddly.
Yeah, we'll see. They definitely are cheap enough to fulfill that.
Yeah.
I mean, and they only have a melee weapon on their profile, so like you're gonna need to throw them at your opponent, because they can't hold the ground from range. So it's interesting. They can actually get some pretty scary melee attacks going here. I guess we can get to that when we get to the upgrades. But I will say that compared to B1's, low profile goes a long way towards increasing their durability. Yeah, especially in the current cover system where it's like, whoops, heavy cover. Yeah, they're going to be like deceptively. I mean, think about how much of a pain like a Imperial Scout Trooper naked unit is to kill, right? It's a white save unit with low profile, but and you feel like they should die faster and they just don't. Yeah. And these things have 50% more wounds for like, less points. Yeah. So.
And the low profile really helps against like sniper, like like it's just really good. It's just good all over. Over good. All right. Next one is the Ewok Slingers. Now this made me really happy. This is a special forces unit with 6 I'm so glad that they did this. It made sense. I had heard a rumor that was what was going to happen, but we weren't 100% sure. So it's really good to see that. So the one thing you do have to be aware of is based on the number of minis that come in the box, you're choosing whether that's going to be a core or a special forces, right? So
Yep.
so potentially we don't know the battle force makeup, but you could, if you wanted to run the max core that we know of right now, 6, and the max special forces, which is 3 that we know of right now, you would need 9 boxes of Ewoks in order to make that happen. So, but you would need 9 boxes of anything in order to make that happen, right? But this is just particularly the same box.
I think sort of. Part of that is that previously there has always been, if we consider like a battle force that has entirely new mercenary units in it, a faction for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Previous to this, every quote unquote faction has had access to a core set box to help fill out those core units. And typically those are more bang for your buck than like, a standard unit upgrade box. Particularly like the Shadow Collective core sets were like crazy value for what you were getting.
I mean, they had to be because like Maul was only available in them, right? So like,
right,
you had to be like, okay, well.
But I guess my point is filling out what is functionally like an entire faction with just single unit box purchases at a time is kind of a new concept for Legion.
Yep.
And one that could get pretty expensive. So we'll see. I think it would be nice if there was like a Ewok Battle Force box available that was a little bit cheaper on a per unit basis. That seems like low hanging fruit. It doesn't seem like that'll be a thing, but
no.
Well,
none of the Battle Force boxes that they put together really made sense anyways. So it was like, I mean, they kind of did, but not really. I don't know. I understand what you're saying. I just at the same time, like,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, if I wanted to run like 6 B2s and 3 BX, I'd still have to buy 9 boxes.
Oh yeah, I bought.
Right. I mean, I did.
Yeah,
right. But
right.
like, I literally, I think I've talked about this but like the Separatists is the one army I literally have. Like, I could field any army.
Yeah. Yeah, I could field an entire army of B2s also.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I literally have 8. But
I think you and I, and probably in a broader sense, like the competitive community, are a little bit unique in their commitment to buying multiples of things without respect for the cost. I was thinking about this. This is totally off topic.
All right.
It slightly applies to Ewoks. But I would be curious to see sort of the numbers of like tournament players about how much stuff they buy on average versus like the average consumer of a miniatures game.
Yeah.
Because like most people that I know that go to tournaments, not only do they play like 3, if not 4 factions, they also buy like the maximum quantity of every slot when it comes out. Of every faction. And I wager that that's not true of most people. That could be like 4 to 6 times more stuff than the average person buys.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think that the 9 Ewok box commitment is going to be something that is unique to either diehard Ewok players like yourself, or if Ewoks turn out to be like super good tournament players. I don't see like a random, person that just goes to local Legion nights unless they're like extremely passionate about Ewoks buying 9 Ewok boxes.
That's true.
So
it's been it's a lot. But okay. So we got the slingers. They are special forces. There's 6 minis in this. They are 35 points.
Cheaper.
Yeah. They have a heavy upgrade personnel and a training slot, just the same. They have 2 weapons. They have stones at melee, which are 1 white. They have slings, which is range 1 to 2 black. That's got the primitive. White defensive dive, 1 health, 1 courage, but they've got a slew more keywords. They have independent surge 1, they have low profile, they have target 1, and they have unhindered. So they are pretty good.
These guys look like a steal for 35 points.
Yeah.
I mean, you're yes, when you're comparing them to B1s, their attack is range 2 instead of range 3, but it's a black dice instead of a white dice. They get a free surge token.
Yep.
And they have low profile.
Yep.
And they're cheaper than a naked B1 unit. So, I think this feels like an extremely good candidate to just kind of slot into like a rebel list. You know, if you're trying to fill out the special forces slots, just take 2 slinger units for 35 points and don't even put any upgrades on them.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I was like, you literally get 12 minis, right? 12 wounds in your army for 70 points.
For 70 points. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, and their attack is pretty good. It's a black dice.
Yeah.
Per model. That's 6 black. With a surge token available if you want it. So
it's so good.
Yeah, that was pretty darn good. They unfortunately, they're, as far as I can tell, I guess we can get into the upgrade cards. There is no like ranged heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my recollection is that there was a miniature with a bow and arrow, but that could be like the trapper model.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It doesn't look like there's a way to like add a, you know, the Ewok Slinger's ranged attack, based on what we know, is going to be 1 black dice per model in the unit.
Yeah.
You know, there's no like heavy spear throwing guy or whatever. So which is, I think, given how ridiculously cheap this unit is, I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
but it feels a little bland. I don't know, but they have the same heavy upgrades as the melee unit. But
yeah, I'm trying to think. I was trying to look at the. So. Yeah, I mean, there's no other cards in the box, right? There's just, it says 2 unit cards and 5 upgrade cards, and 8 miniatures, 2 unit cards, 5 upgrade cards. So that's it. It's not like they're gonna, and they've been spoiling everything anyways.
Correct. Yeah.
So there is no other right now, anyways. There are no other heavy units.
Right. Which is fine. I'm a little bit sad that there's literally 1 heavy weapon option for both of these units combined.
Yeah.
And it is an axe Ewok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
It's a red dice. Add 1 axe Ewok miniature, and it's just straight up pierce 1, impact 1.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, for 15 points.
Yeah. And you can add them to either one of those.
Yep.
That, I think that's been the neatest thing. Out that and the training slots, how they're using training slots, but like, I like that it's just like, yeah, I don't know, these guys are slingers, but you can take all this stuff on either one of them.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I do think that they're essentially like, you can just use all the upgrades on both units. Yeah. Call to arms. This is a training upgrade. This unit gains 1 suppression token. This unit gains charge until the end of the round, and it's exhaustible. So it's basically exhaustible charge. It is 5 points. It is limited, which is a keyword that's kind of like unique. Basically, it means you can have 2 of these at most in your army.
Yeah, and so AJ told me this last week. That before Call of Arms, there's 2 dots that tells you how many you can have in your list.
Right. Yep.
So I didn't know that.
Yep, it's a new thing. I think it was the first card we've seen that has that.
Yep.
So, this seems like it kind of suggests, I don't want to say forces, it suggests a structure around you where you kind of want to have like 2 beefy melee Ewok units, and then maybe the rest of your army you want to just have like be spammable, because for a melee unit to like not have charge, that's very limiting. So the fact that you can only take 2 of these means that like you're going to have to kind of lean on 2 of your units to be like your charge units, and then, you know, maybe use that that Ewok 3-pip or something else to make up the difference. But
yeah, and I want to say this goes along with, so we last week we talked about the card that that gives them infinite courage, and I'm pretty sure we found out, somebody sent us a note that said
it does clear their courage. Yeah.
So basically you could charge in with these guys, get the suppression, and they get shot or whatever, get some more suppression, and then you play the command card, and then they'll shed that.
Yep.
But all that suppression, which is so good.
Yeah, potentially. And that same card also gives them bonus dice for missing units or missing minis. So yeah, you could potentially have like one little Ewok unit leader be extremely annoying with a combination of cards here. Forest Dwellers, we've already seen this one. This is basically the recon intel plus a free dodge token. It's pretty good.
So is
simple
there one
but useful
coming in
effect.
Wicket in the commander too? Because we got that leaked with
I think we talked about Wicket last week.
it was leaked with Wicket. So I wonder if it's coming in his pack as well. So that would be nice to have.
I'd assume so.
A few of those at least.
Yeah, he has scouting party.
Yeah.
So it seems like you want to staple this to Wicket because it improves his scouting party.
Yep.
And he doesn't have a gear slot for recon intel. So Insatiable Curiosity. This is the one that everybody wondered what it did.
Yep.
Choose it is a discard. That's the X on here. Choose an enemy unit in base contact with this unit's unit leader that has a heavy gear or armament upgrade equipped. Discard one of those non-unique or limited upgrades. This unit suffers 1 wound.
Yep.
This is potentially a very strong effect. You know, one of the things that people dislike about Force Choke is that you can just, without rolling dice or having any choice in the matter, you can have one of your heavy weapons just kind of like removed.
Yep.
Which is what this does.
But you do, I mean, the Ewok player, not a lot, but you do get a little punished for it, which is you lose, you take a wound.
There are some very important differences here relative to Force Choke. The first is in its favor, which is that it's incredibly cheap relative to Force Choke. Force Choke is only available on models that are at least 160 points. And it's functionally unique for that purpose. Like yes, you can run more than one Force user in your list if you can afford it. But those lists tend to not be very good because they're so expensive. So Force Choke is like essentially unique based purely on the entry cost. This is not. So that's in this thing's favor, but there are some important differences. The primary one of which I think is that this is melee range instead of range 1. I feel like once you have an Ewok unit in melee with the thing that you're wanting to like remove the upgrade from, it's probably going to be the most useful thing to remove is like a ranged heavy weapon, right?
Yeah.
If you're already in melee with that unit, you're like stabbing it with spears. Is it really that relevant whether the heavy weapon is still there or not?
Yeah.
It clearly it will do if that unit survives and continues on to shoot something else, but yeah, I feel like there are going to be a lot of situations where it's kind of like all right, the unit there you can do this against is probably not going to get a great chance to use that heavy again anyway. There are a lot of melee heavies that this could be potentially good against, like the IRG electro staff. You remove their pierce immunity and then you stab them with or you thwack them with your pierce 1 axe. Or like this, Battle Shield Wookiee. But it's notable too.
Oh, so go ahead.
One more thing is that the armament thing. People are like, well, what is that really going to do against? Like, all right, I guess you're going to do Death Troopers and Pathfinders, but there are actually a lot of non-unique armaments that are unique to characters, if that makes sense. So like Cad Bane's gloves, for example.
Yeah,
They do not have the unique dot next to them they are simply Cad Bane only, which functionally makes them unique because Cad Bane is a unique character. So previously, it's been a distinction without a difference. But for the purposes of this card, like they can break Cad Bane's gloves, even though, like for all intents and purposes, that's a unique weapon, but there's no dot next to it. So this works against Cad Bane's gloves. It works against Cassian's rifle, but not Aiden's rifle. So there are like there's a couple of random armament upgrades. This feels like it shouldn't work against, but it does. So make sure you're checking that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you, Jay.
No, I was interrupting you to begin with. I don't even. You know what? You just ruined it for me.
I'm sorry.
No, oh, that's what I was gonna say. It's nice because it's like the heavy. Like, yes, I understand what you were saying, but it's also just like running in and just being able to like do a wound so that you just have a better shot at like maybe taking the unit out when you're just like just taking one off the board and then I attack and I just have a bigger opportunity of wiping something.
So that's the other important difference here with Force Choke is it does not actually remove a model. There's actually an entry in the CR.
Oh, that's right. They just can't use the heavy. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, the model still exists on the table. They just cannot use the upgrade card.
Well, that's so not as good then.
It is not as good.
Yeah. Well, dang it. All right.
But the entry point for this is 43 points instead of 165. Yeah. So, I think it's fine that the effect is not as good, personally.
Fair.
This seems like their only real counter to Dark Troopers. Because their impact is so limited. Just get in melee with one and take the assault cannon off the table. But anyway, all right. Ewok Chopper. Add one Ewok Chopper miniature. This unit gains a training upgrade icon. 10 points.
Love it.
Yeah, this is really interesting insofar as the previous three things we named are all training upgrades. Yep. And these guys really seem to have like a high demand for that upgrade slot. So this is like a genuinely, like if you're adding an Ewok Chopper miniature, you're going to be adding it so that you can then purchase a second training upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what you could do is you add, you put the trapper in, right? You give them the what is it? The insatiable curiosity, right? And you give them tenacity. And then you run in, you stop them from using their heavy weapon or their armament. You take a wound, you gain a red die, and then you attack. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, literally have that on all of them. Like, it's just just like, yeah, I don't know. I traded that black die for a red die. Here we go.
Yep. Yeah, that seems like a good combo. I think there's a lot of good candidates for this training slot besides even just like the unique upgrades here. The Ewok unique upgrades here.
I think you could. There's an argument for like offensive push. I mean the endurance. Like I think there's depending on what you're doing with your army. Like I think there's a lot of
into the fray. I think. And the spear guys especially because they really want those surges. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of good candidates for it. Personally, I think like the spear build that I would look at for like sort of your two call to arms spear units would be an axe Ewok, call to arms, a trapper, and then into the fray. And then just take like two of those guys with wicket, and you've got like I think that's less than 200 points for all that.
Yeah.
And you can take that in a rebel list. That's two core units. That's a commander, and I think that's all less than 200 points. So. Nice little Ewok strike force for your rebel list. Or a good starting point for, we have no idea what the battle force looks like, but the battle force. So,
or if they're gonna, I don't know if they'll do this or if they have like limited, like you can only take so many Ewoks. It's just we don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
Point, right.
Right now, our assumption is that they function. They are officially mercenaries. For rules purposes, they got that Sabak symbol in the back of the card art. They've got the same card structure, and I think they're even listed in that section as mercenaries for rules purposes. So unless there's something specific, that's their affiliation basically is Ewok.
Right.
So unless there's something specific about Ewoks, they will currently, based on what we know, they will fit into rebels in the same way that any other mercenary unit does.
Right.
If you want to take an extra one in the slot, you take allies at convenience. You can't give them orders, etc.
What's the limitation for special forces? Was there one?
I think it's 2.
Two and 2 for core, 2 for
that's off the
special
top of my head
forces.
though, but
Yeah.
it's either 2 or it's 1. But you can take allies at convenience to make it an extra one if you need to. So, yep. But the skirmishers are core. So, 2 skirmishers and a wicket seems like you wouldn't have to take allies at convenience for that.
Right.
Here's an interesting one that I just thought of. Does Leia have to take allies at convenience to give Wicket an order with her custom Wicket teamwork card?
Oh, that's an interesting. Right. Maybe in Rebels.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
But not in the maybe not in the battle force, because if she's part of the battle force, right? Which if they don't make her
they might
Han
have
and
special
Luke,
rules for part of the battle force. Yeah, it is a beautiful friendship is a Leia card, and it's Wicket and Leia. So I think that if you were in Rebels, Leia would have to have allies at convenience to give Wicket an order with this card, which is kind of strange given that he's named on the card. But
yeah,
who knows? Maybe that's different in the battle force. I don't know.
yeah. Wild.
Yep. All right.
Wild.
All right. It's exciting that we finally see what their quote unquote normal units do. It's still hard to know exactly. We don't know what the battle force looks like, but
yeah, but it's good. I mean, I'm excited. The interesting thing is the one thing I was looking at is the ATST Chewbacca ATST does not have a rebel symbol on it, so you can't take that in Rebels. So that's going to be either mercenary or I don't even understand any it's battle force only, I guess.
I think it'll be functionally battle force only. It's like the Mandalorians, the Mandalorian Super Commandos that only go in Shadow Collective. They don't have any faction symbols on their card.
That makes sense.
So, I assume it'll be the same as that.
Yeah.
You got any other thoughts?
No, it's good. I'm glad they're doing this. Just waiting, just battle force rules and get them in my hands, and we still got one thing left to be spoiled. No,
Logray.
Yeah, Logray, right?
Yeah. Is there anything else besides Logray, or have we seen anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Yeah. And they come out in what, July?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so next week we're starting the new format, and very exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I think people will like it.
Yeah, me too. I hope so.
Well, we're doing it anyways. So.
We're doing it one way or another. Tell us what you think of it. Yeah.
Just tell Kyle, don't tell me.
Tell me what you think of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was Ewoks.
Yeah.
We are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jay.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.